we're taping now, we will be expecting Robb Thunder
Let's
at
just
any
start.
moment.
Let's just start.
We're
So
starting.
we've been starting.
We're
We're going. We're live.
Yeah, we're live.
Why don't you start off formally? Just
Formally, this is Sunday Slam. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
And what a beautiful morning.
It is a beautiful, rainy, cloudy morning, but these are the kind of days I have
I
every
think
day.
everybody at this table got a bare minimal 4 hours of sleep.
I
So-
couldn't, I was thinking wrestling, talking wrestling, I got 2 hours.
Except Spider.
Yeah.
Spider got a 7.
He's fresh as a daisy. He's fresh. He was sleeping through his match last night. He's fresh as a daisy. We got
I'm the
Spider
only
Baby.
full-time.
We have Outlaw Dave Bell. We got Ernie Ellis. I'm Carol Castle. Thank you very much. We have no agenda. We are just going to start talking about some of the wrestling that was going on in the cities last night. And
Talk about some of the good, talk about some of the bad, and even possibly some of the ugly.
Yes.
That's Ernie's.
That'd be Ernie's second.
Yeah.
Well, before we get underway, then, if you don't mind, I'll just quickly.
Oh, I very much mind.
Brought to you by.
This is Sensational G-Girl #1, published by Heroic Publishing, featuring a story that has me
Is that X-rated?
as the lead character, only in your mind.
Well, there's a half-naked woman on the front.
Half naked.
Okay, all right, half naked.
Which half? The bikini is half full. There I am. Future bronies. Look at that. Look at that. Look at those
Beautiful.
abs.
Show camera so that they can
I'm showing you first.
Wow,
First.
it's just like you.
I don't want to give it too much for free, but you can. It's available at Heroic multiverse.com. HeroicMultiverse.com, so you can order a copy.
Can we get it at B. Dalton or local bookstores?
You cannot. They've given up on the old comic book distribution situation, which is a long story that has nothing to do with comics or nothing to do with
So if you want to give me the graphic, we'll have our wonderful editor do a graphic how to order it if you like.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So
Because
much.
you are a very talented writer.
It was. It's funny. It was the publisher's idea. They approached me years ago about doing Spider-Man as a guest star in a comic book, and they asked if you want to do that. I'm like, oh well. Let me consider that for just a second. Yeah, I think I could squeeze that into my schedule.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for asking. And then it was this publisher, Heroic Publishing, has been around for over 25 years. And according to a press release they sent out, their best-selling comic had a certain sale rate. My comic, where I appeared as a character, outdid it by 500%.
Oh,
I will order my copy today.
So this is the sequel to that, and it's fun and it's funny, and it's a super villain comes after Spider Baby. Spider Baby wrestled in the first one. Spider Baby wrestles his superhero in a ring, so it's all his element. And so not unlike the match last night, he takes advantage of his environment. Of course, I win. Spoiler alert. And then, although there's an after party where I get mine, of course, because he's the heel. In this one, the supervillain comes after Spider Baby, sets up a trap for him out of the ring, and now he's completely out of his element, and so the tables are turned.
So in
As it was
essence,
last night.
even though it is a comic book, it still is wrestling related. So it does kind of tie in.
Oh,
Yes.
that's right. Yeah, the only reason I would have mentioned it.
I think it'd be great to have Spider Baby talk about his character in the comic book at the Minnesota Resident Hall of Fame. And if you can pick a Sunday, maybe the last one in April, we'd love to have you.
December is a beautiful month for you. I think that's your color.
Yeah. Whatever month you want, but I think it'd be a
like
fun.
the white,
I think it'd be a fun talk at the Minnesota Wrestling Hall of Fame.
And
I
I'm
would
seeing
like to learn
2025 as a perfect year. It just calls here.
Yeah. Dave will book it.
I'll book it.
Unless, and I should mention, just as before we go.
I'll be in the audience to heckle.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
And I will sing
Yeah, you'll be
fancy
rocking.
every time you do. That'll shut you up. Like, in case it hasn't been clear, my day job is writing. One of the things I write is comics. I wrote this comic featuring a character that is I. Just to be absolutely crystal clear. And now we can talk about something completely
Well,
Of
unrelated.
course,
You know, I wanna
wrote
talk-
it, and it's about him.
I want to talk about the wrestling match
That goes
last night.
perfectly into
Yeah.
the ego section of Red. No.
Right. The three of us
I'm
were
not
at
talking
one.
about you. You guys just carry it right on. Go
Three
ahead.
of us were at one match last night. Ernie was at Battleground, and there's a dark match that started off the night, which was warms up the crowd.
We don't really call it like a dark match because we're not on TV. We just call
But if this
it was
was WWE, it
yeah,
was
if
a
it
dark
was WWE,
match.
it would be the equivalent of a dark match, but we call it a preliminary match, just to like the match that goes on right before the show actually starts, just to kind of warm the crowd up, let them know what they're going to expect for the rest of the night.
And what we expected was it was a dark match, it was okay. But the next match was
Zach
Spider
Nino
Babies,
and,
which I
Jay
loved.
Lito.
Yeah. It was okay, but it was Alex Riley, and which was a surprise. I didn't know who was going to be there last night. Nikki Duche's manager, who I love. I love him probably even more than Johnny Rock, which is amazing.
Why?
And
Why?
he is so sharp. If you watch him, I've seen him, and I hate managers. I hate managers, they distract from wrestling, not him. He engages not only the wrestlers, he engages the whole crowd. And many managers forget the crowd, they get one or two. This cat covers everybody. He's animated, he's fun. I've watched him control the whole crowd just by looking over his glasses and doing that Richard Nixon, shifty eye look. And it's true. I seen in lacrosse at American Legion, there's 200 people wanting to kill him just because he's him. And it was magic, and I really compare him to Bobby Heenan. He's got all the instincts. He needs another 20 years under his belt, but he's got the instincts. He's got the charisma. He is definitely the manager I like seeing. There was a lot of managers last night. I like Dallas Parker. I hate managers. Last night, I didn't mind any of those managers. Usually, I was at Steel Domain, and they have some chick manager. And why she parks her ass right in front of us. And she I probably wasn't as nice as I normally am. I said, there's no way you're standing here all night. And she kind of looked and got scared and moved, thank God. Keep moving, stand in a corner, figure something out. But don't park your ass in front of one or two people so you're blocking their view, because they came to see wrestling.
And if you're going to, do it in front of a guy, not a girl. I'm just saying, the guys, they won't mind, they're going to be like, yeah, I'm here to watch the wrestling.
And I would have been fine with that, but a good point. I brought 22 people, 22 paying tickets, adult tickets that night, and I can't see. And it just doesn't make sense to me. Most of the time,
How many
managers.
fingers?
3.
Good, yeah, you can see a little bit of that.
Well, I can see a little bit, but
Helen Keller, all right.
most of the managers, the eye candy part, maybe it's because I'm a girl, I don't get. It dummies down the wrestling.
Well,
It dummies it down for me.
again,
Last night, the
that really
managers did not.
That really does depend on, again, it falls back on the promoter.
Who was the manager last
well,
night?
Let me just elaborate on what you're talking about,
Okay.
because this is how you get, engage the
Mhm.
conversation, but.
Let's not forget, we're talking about my match, by the way, so.
Yeah,
We're gonna go full
Yeah.
circle.
I just said that for his sake.
It does fall back on the promoter. I mean, if the promoter is hiring somebody to do a job, it's their job to.
Annoy me?
No, it's their job to sit the person down. Let's say, for example, Spider's the manager. I would sit down with Spider and say, this is what I need from you tonight.
Yeah.
This is the direction I need you to go. This is the point I need to get across to the crowd. And it's your job to lead them. It's their job to follow and do what you ask them to do. And if the promoter is just bringing the girl in because she's a pretty face and a pretty body, and he's not giving her any direction, she doesn't know what to do. And you got the two guys getting ready, and they're putting everything together, and everything's going on, and they're forgetting she's there, so she's, what do I do? Park my ass in front of a girl.
And that's it, and I don't know why I get annoyed, just like if parking in front of somebody else, I don't care. But I think the wrestling should be in the ring. I mean, unless it's in front of me, that's great, I like getting good pictures. But it's too much going on the sides. But last night, I don't know who this other manager was. He was Dallas Parker, and he was over here. And he's quite good.
Jason Michaels, I think his name is.
It could be.
Yeah, the bigger guy that manages the Playboys.
He's actually quite good.
Yeah.
And what they were doing outside the ring wasn't distracting, but it was a story. And they got something going on between them that was really interesting to kind of watch their eyes.
You taking care of
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah, I like that. Normally, I hate managers. It just annoys me. Last night, what was there, 3 or 4 of them? And
Three. But there was, they were involved in 4 matches.
It worked well.
No, it worked. It worked beautifully.
It
See,
worked
but that
well.
is rare, though. That
It
is
is
definitely
rare.
out of.
And they wanted to add a fourth manager, and I'm like, you know what?
No.
We've got 3 managers, 4 matches that they're involved in. We've got 7 matches on the card. I said, that's enough. You start adding too much, and and then every match has a manager, it becomes too distracting, becomes annoying to a point. I said, what we've got, the way it's, in every match with the managers, it was spaced out. So I'm looking at that, I go, it's spaced out perfectly, let's just leave it alone.
See,
Dallas Parker was wonderful.
See, that's the big thing, Dave, out of matches that you've been in. I ain't count on one hand how many times a manager has helped the match. If you're going to work a match, I want to work against the guy. I don't need this guy out here. But you working in the back room and helping set up
Right.
what this manager is going to do
You have
is
to,
decent. But like you said,
have to give a
they come on
direction.
out there and they're picking their nose, you know, and you're
Yeah.
like, what?
But
what the hell are they
that
doing
really
out there?
does fall on the guy that's, the booker that's writing it and telling the story, because, if he doesn't do his part and give direction, even with the wrestlers, how many times have you been in the locker room with me now, and I sit down and I say, Ernie, this is the direction.
Yep.
6 months from now, this is where I need you to be,
Yep.
this is what we gotta do tonight to get there. And Ernie's eyes, he starts getting that twinkle in his eyes, because he starts seeing the vision
Yeah.
come alive in his, he takes my idea, he believes it, and it becomes his idea.
He drinks the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, and then he starts believing in it more and more, and he's, because I'm able to tell it to him in a way that he can believe it, and can believe that it will get the reaction that I'm looking for, he starts believing it and it becomes his idea.
Well,
And then he goes out there and he does what I'm asking him to do, and most of the time he starts coming up to me in the middle of the, before he goes out and does this thing, he'll come up to me and say, hey, what if I do this, what if I do that? And I'm like, and I start processing everything, and I'll go, that's a good idea, let's do that, and it's feeding off of each other, and
okay.
Well, the late Robb Thunder.
hey!
We're
I
kinda,
literally woke up about 9 minutes ago.
it's a good thing you're close. We're just kind of dissecting some of the matches, and we're talking about managers, and normally I hate them. And last night, there was 3 last night, and all 3 were good, and one was like just stellar, Nikki Duche. What did you give him for direction? Or was that just Nikki? Because
Quite
that
honestly,
seemed like
that
Nikki.
was just Nikki. We weren't even intending on using it.
And
Because
I love that.
let me give you an idea. Last night, my idea is I see Alex Riley and Spider Baby, and I look at the size. They're very similar in size, in-ring ability, very similar. And I look at that, I'm like, this
You
is
got
a
a better
magical.
bridge.
I look at that.
Better bridge.
Oh, thank you. I look at that and I say, this is a magical pair. This will work. I can put this in front of a crowd. And initially, it was supposed to be Spider Baby the heel versus Alex Riley the babyface. So he didn't need a manager because he was a babyface.
Right.
How many babyfaces you see with managers? Not many. And then a lot of people started coming up to me before the show and they said, guys in the back, they're like, oh, you got Riley and Spider. Is Riley healing tonight? He does a great heel. And I'm like, I've never seen Riley as a heel.
Oh.
Because every time I've worked with him in the past, he's always been a babyface. So I'm thinking about it, and then I'm talking to Ian later in the night, and Ian's talking about how he would like the babyface that night. And he's like, what if you switch Spider and Riley's role?
Thank you, Ian.
Thank you, Ian.
Yeah, I know. It was just,
But
it bugged me a lot. The way it happened, I was collateral damage, where it's like,
no,
do
but
I get a vote in this at any
But
time?
then, and so I wasn't even intending on using
That was the
Nikki
answer, yeah.
Douche.
Look at you, I just
And
thought of that one.
Nikki
Wasn't even planning on using him, and then once we switched the roles, it made sense that he could have his manager in there.
It was such a nice surprise, and I don't get surprised at wrestling. It's just, I think maybe I see too much, thank you. But I
don't want you to
literally-
feel uncomfortable in the
Yeah.
role.
That's fine.
Okay.
Thank
It-
you. Don't worry about it.
I like the fact that, I love watching you wrestle, and you're very good. But Alex Riley's one of my favorites, and those 2 together, along with Jesse, have Grapple Talk, my favorite, wrestling podcast. And so it was I didn't know Alex was gonna be there. It was a treat to see him come out. I had no clue. And then I see Nikki Shea. It's like, oh my God, he's so talented. And I was so happy that you got to see his work, and I wish you would have been there. But Kurt from MEW was there, because I've talked to him about him before. It's, maybe I'm a little obsessed, but he's really talented. There's so many people in the wrestling world that aren't talented, that make it.
Sounds like Ahab talking about the white whale. Nick Touche! Arr!
But it was a really nice prize. My girlfriend, Maureen, that was there, she's heard me talk about him forever. Tim, the guy sitting next to me, has heard me talk about this guy on and on. That's the reason to go to RCCW over in La Crosse, because of Nick and Uche and what he could do. And it was fun for me to watch my friends see what this guy can do. And then the other manager guy, and I can't, Jason, you said his name was?
I think it's Jason Michaels, yeah. I mean, I'm still with the names,
He's,
it's terrible.
he's talented, and I don't know if I've seen him wrestle, or if I've only seen him as a manager, but I couldn't remember where I've seen him before.
He was at MEW for a period.
Was he Rice Lake?
No, he hasn't been in MEW in a while. He was at shows, he used to come to the Ham Lake shows a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was up to Ham Lake with us.
I really liked him. Well, I like Dallas Parker. Dallas Parker's got spark. He just does. And it's nice to see when people really click. But those two talking.
He didn't even wrestle last night.
Yeah.
Neither did I. Look at this.
Karaoke wore
Sliced
out.
up and.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Was that
It's all
for the
three
ring?
on a pile of wood?
Yes,
Hit you with
does ring duty.
Oh.
I just think the managers worked really well last night, and I like the chemistry between Dallas Parker and that Jason guy. And
That was actually something
Yeah.
that really wasn't even intended, to be honest with you.
it looked like it was.
Yeah, but they've been like doing this, and I'm not a big fan of it. I don't think anybody really follows this crap when you do Facebook to Facebook and you do these inner thing feuds. Nobody really gives a shit about that. Sorry about the language, but
No, and
you know,
said that.
and they came up to me and they're like, "Hey, we've been doing this thing. You mind if we do it here and continue?" And I'm like, all right, let's, and they're like, well, we're fighting over, trying to get a guy. I said, well, instead of fighting over guys you already have in your stable, why don't you pick a new guy and each guy is trying to get him in his stable. And I says, then you guys can butt heads. So I said, the perfect guy that would work great with this would be Stardom. I says, you two as managers are sleazes. I said, Stardom's the king of sleaze. So I
Yes,
said it would be
Steve.
perfect, you both on each side of the corner trying to fight to get his attention.
Shoot.
And it kind of worked itself
It did.
out, but there was nothing intended in that. A lot of the stuff that happened, because it's my first time writing for RWA, it was their first show, Jim standing on his own two legs. And there was a lot of guys I was very, very familiar with, but there was a lot of guys I didn't even know who the hell they were. Never seen them before, so I'm really watching the matches, watching the crowd, how the crowd's responding. And a lot of stuff was just kind of ad-lib, put it together at the last second, see how it works, and if the crowd responds, go with it.
You had talented guys that put it together well for you, and that was the match of the night for me, Spider Babies. It just was. And I know you're not comfortable being a face, but a face that actually ends up biting somebody 4 times in the ring is pretty cool to
It was
watch.
just 2, but
I think it was 4.
it was 2.
I think it was
It was
4.
2.
It looked like it was
But it was
more.
only after he bit me.
Yeah,
That's key.
turnout's true.
But also too, I mean, just the finish of that match with, you putting your feet on the ropes, doing a deliberate heel thing.
Yes.
And the crowd just cheering. I mean, that's how it worked. That's why it worked. You as the babyface doing something to win that the heel would normally do because he's been cheating the whole match, and you're like, well, screw you, I'm gonna get the better of you. That's what made it work.
I knocked the manager's head to get even with him, all the dirty
Ricky
things
Douche.
That was
he's into,
wonderful.
Nick Douche.
Yeah.
And then just dropped him behind the guy, behind Alex, and then AC Riley, and then he fell over me, and I actually stole that from Honky Tonk Man. I just rolled right with him, and then feet up on the ropes, all one motion. And the reason that worked, and I've been a babyface before, not for years, and I kind of borrowed from Eddie Guerrero's motif, and early in the match, Alex, who's a young, beautiful young man, and I tie up, and he pushes me back to the corner, and I tell the ref, he pulled my hair. And of course, it's a ridiculous statement, there's no hair to pull.
But the beautiful part is he's telling the fans,
He
pulled my hair, and the fans are actually buying into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, ref, he pulled his hair.
That was the key. So I get the front row to say, he pulled my hair, didn't he? And yes, of course he did. And the referee starts yelling at the heel for doing something that couldn't have possibly happened. We tie up, I pull his hair, And the next front row vouches that, no, I didn't have anything. And the heel's going insane and all this. This. So then when you put your feet up on the ropes as a babyface and pin the guy, I believe it feels like the whole audience feels like we got away with something. You know, I was part of that.
Yeah.
I helped him get to that point.
You engaged
And
the
it
whole
feels
audience.
great. It feels great to kind of screw the man, screw the system, and so there's a level of fantasy there. Is my
Right.
thinking about psychology. You have to do it in the right order. The heel has to start being dirty first, but after that, I mean dirty with a small d, not dirty with a big D. Dirty.
Yeah, you're the only captain.
You're literally dirty.
Yeah.
Shooty dirty.
But you know, I mean, one of the guys that was also, you know, in the big leagues that was very popular with getting away with doing heel stuff was Hulk Hogan. You know, with the scratching in the back and the raking in the eyes. But the way he did it was he always turned to the crowd for that approval before he did it.
And Steve Austin.
But his character was kind of, I mean, you know, he was a
Well, the
baby
Crusher
face,
did that
but
too.
right.
Yeah,
But like Steve Austin, he was a baby face, but he was the badass baby face, so you expected it out of him.
Yep.
Hulk Hogan was like picture perfect, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, you know, kiss
that's
babies.
right.
Make your move.
You know, so seeing him do that, you know, as the
Like
picture
that
perfect
Robbie
baby
Thunder
face,
guy.
it just,
Mhm.
you know, it was just, it was there, you know.
I remember, I've seen a tag team match, I'm sure you've seen an AWA match, where you have Vern Gagne, Mad Dog Vachon, you know, who are former enemies.
Mhm.
Mad Dog still fights dirty, but he's a good guy. And then Jesse Ventura and Adrian Adonis, they had lost the titles, the good guys had lost the titles by default, some sort of technicality. There was no actual match, the titles just went to them. So now it's the rematch for the match, for the title loss that never really happened kind of thing. And so they're doing matches the way you're supposed to do the match, and then Vern Gagne at one point, you know, the former Olympic wrestler, pillar of the St. Paul, Minneapolis community, comes in, and he goes to Adrian Adonis, who's a very good technical wrestler himself, and he raises his hands and he wiggles his fingers, like, I'm going dirty. And Adrian Adonis is begging off, and the whole audience just went insane just to see. And by that point, the bad guys had done so much dirty stuff that
Yeah, bring it on.
bring a nuclear bomb in there and it would be justified in the eyes of the fans. That's the key.
That's the one thing I did love about the AWA that they did that was different than what every promotion did is a guy would win the titles by a technicality, or they would take the title off of somebody off of it, like, you know, like again, going back to, you know, Nick Bockwinkel and Hulk Hogan. The fans were just starving for Hulk Hogan to win that title off of Bockwinkel, and finally he gets it, and then a week later, boom, well, we have to take the title off of him. It was a technicality, you know, and that was the only promotion that I recall watching that ever did that. And it really got under your skin. So now the next time you saw them two go ahead,
Oh, yeah.
God damn it, win it right, you know, and
Yeah.
hold that son of a bitch,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, they got screwed.
But that was the beauty of what they did is they give the fans what they want, and then a week later turn around and say, unfortunately, we got to take it away from you guys.
They pulled a Minnesota Vikings. They ripped
Yeah.
the.
But you know, that was the only promotion that I know
difference.
that did that, and because they did that, it really got the fans' blood boiling, and they would go,
And they did.
and they would come in droves to the stadiums, and they would pack it, and you'd hear their voice in every match. You would hear it. They would voice their opinion on it. You know, I mean, well, you know, they didn't riot, but
Oh, yeah.
they could have.
Yeah, they did.
What'd you think about the final match, the Maru and Dave Knight?
How did my boy Maru do?
Well, he wasn't your boy last night. He was on
No.
the dark side. No, he was influenced by
Damn
other.
it, again.
But this is a different promotion, so it didn't count.
Different continuity.
Yes, you don't exist in that time-space continuum. So I thought the match itself was very solid,
Yes, it was.
very, very back and forth.
They worked hard.
They did, but there was some errors that I talked to them
Oh, yeah.
about, you know, and I had to even come down on the referee. The referee's job when you go in there is to count three. It doesn't matter if it's the first 30 seconds in the match, it doesn't matter if it's the last 30 minutes of the match. When every time you count as if you're counting for three. And when you're counting 1, 2, that doesn't work for me.
No.
You count 1, 2, 3. You slow slide that thing through, everyone.
Yeah.
And if that guy doesn't kick out like he's supposed to, too
Oh,
bad.
Too bad.
Yeah.
And
You
I'm
screwed
glad-
the pooch, not the referee.
I'm
you
glad
know?
you said that because
And there was
I
like
feel
4 or
insulted.
5 times that happened last night. And I excuse the language, I kind of bitched out Maru about that. And I even bitched out Damon, and I said, you know, you guys, I know you want it to be last minute intense kick out, but,
people are too tired, by the end of that night, they were too tired for that intensity.
right.
They wanted to clean, I don't know, clean it, I mean, you could have both be heels, it doesn't matter. They were both very good, but that just, it irked me, you know, the count.
Yeah, that bothered me too.
That irked me.
Rob Page as a referee is real good at that.
He's-
Like last night, there was one that he touched the mat on 3 and
But if the guy kicks
But-
out, you can still say, no, it
That's
wasn't
what
a
he
free.
did.
He
Yeah.
kicked
and
out.
that's what Rob did. And it was really good how he called
Yeah.
that. And it
He
was
should.
right, he did call it and he kept the beat the same
But you
time.
see, it's that level, even when the referee's hand goes down, it doesn't mean the match, the only way that the match is over is when the ref calls for the bell.
Mhm.
Even if his hand goes down, you know, if he said, you know, he could still go say, no, that wasn't a 3, he can argue it, because he's the authority in that match. That's where a lot of people get it wrong, you know, they're like, oh, I'm gonna bully the, you know, as a worker, I'm gonna bully the referee, I'm gonna push him around. In the old days, you even touch the referee, that's a DQ.
Yeah.
You know, and then why we shifted, you know, you could have a guy 7'4", 500 pounds, being in there and intimidating that referee, but when that referee gets in his face, he's gonna cower down. That's the way it's supposed to be.
But
Now
I think it
it's-
intensifies your product.
too. You
Yeah.
gotta listen
Yeah.
to me.
Yep.
But I think it makes your product more believable, more complete. If the referee's untouchable, and the referee's the referee, and he's not involved in acting like a fool, and his job is to count, and you touch him or you hit him, it's immediate disqualification. You're giving a lot more credibility to your product.
That's right.
I've
It's-
always considered the referee the most important
I
person
agree.
on the show.
Well, on your matches maybe, but not during my matches.
Well, I had a referee one time, and he's no longer with us, but his name was Bruno. He lived up north, and I was working this guy, and I felt bad for my opponent because his counts that he was giving was like, you know, and then mine was like twice as long. It's like we knew who was gonna go over. It wasn't my opponent, so I'm like taking the foul, and it's like 1, 2, and I'm like, Bruno, count faster, and I felt so bad. I'm like, oh, these people know, they know that this guy, I paid him off. That's really what it was.
Well, see, that's what I miss of the referees. And again, I thank you, Rob Page. He is one that will talk with us and let us know stuff. Last night there was an injury. Luther got hurt going against the Dragon. And the referee did not let the Dragon know this. Even though it's in Japanese, he did let it know it. And
Yeah.
Luther did hurt his leg and hurt it pretty badly. But we've got to, I feel, we've got to always work with our,
Well, you know,
get
again,
these referees to learn this, that they are pretty much letting us as the wrestlers know that this isn't working, or this guy's injured, or watch it on this here, we've got a bad spot, or, you know, something. If you're going out, you happen to go out of the ring, to be careful in this spot here.
you know, I think with referees, I think it's tough because, you know, as the Attitude Era kind of poured in, and they were starting to manhandle the referees, like back in the old days, like Spider would say, the referee would, you know,
Yes.
signify the stripes, or even in some of the older states where they had commissions, they had a patch with the state on it, and it would say referee, and it would have the wrestling logo in the middle, and he would point to the patch. But, you know, they got away from that. People would start manhandling the referee, and I look at it, you know, like I would watch a match and the referee would make a decision, and then the owner of the company or the commissioner would come out and, oh, well, we're going to reverse that because he cheated and this and that. Well, the referee is the law of the match.
Yep.
You know, he makes the decisions, he's the final decision. And when you have other people overstepping his authority, what should be happening is the commissioner or owner comes out and says, you know what, if they get called out that it was a crap, the guy
Standing
cheated,
Blackbird.
whatever.
Right.
But they come out and say, you know what, yeah, the guy cheated, I saw it, but the referee didn't see it. The referee's decision's final, so I can't change what happened tonight, but what I can do is set up a rematch, for another date and
Give us your
time.
money again,
Yeah.
suckers.
But the point is, the owners will go out there and the commissioners will go out there and they'll override the referee.